And this is how a home buyer lost all his down payment, a total of $200,000.
Go and check that video out. That's a sad video, and to hear those things. Me, I run a business of integrity. The thing of it is the clients are the most important to me, because without them, I won't have a salary. I won't be able to do the things that is needed. Another thing as well is my point of view. A lot of people drop the ball, not the borrowers, but the realtor and the loan officer and the closer and the processor. They all drop the ball to me, because this lady said in the video, she said this is a true story and it just recently happened. She stated that the 3% they had to put down, it was sent to the escrow company as a wire. Now, for one, the seller, that usually you will have the seller's attorney, or the seller realtor, and the buyer's realtor or the buyer's attorney all meeting up together. The 3% that was going to be held in escrow is usually held either by the attorney or by the escrow company, because different states, you either close at a title company, which is an escrow company, or you close with an attorney. It depends on the state, because you have some that's a state attorney state. But anyway, she said that they sent the 3% via email through a wire transfer, which for one, that's a red flag, because the email should have been sent encrypted. It should have been encrypted from day one. And the customers, so the borrowers, if they're gonna put down 20%, they have to get a loan for the remaining 80%. So their lender, which is their loan officer, should have sat down and walked them through the process, should have explained everything to them, and or their realtor. Their realtor, they collect fees, they collect money, and it could have been a realtor who did dual work for the seller and the borrower, but the realtor could have explained the process to them as well. But most definitely the loan officer should have explained it to them. Now, she said that they did their due diligence. So if they did their work, the part that they're supposed to do, then how is it that everyone else dropped the ball? So they send the 3% via wire transfer. Crazy, right? The email, like I said, the email should have been encrypted. However, she said that the 17% was needed prior to closing. So that's part of the contingency of the approval, because the initial approval, usually like AUD, DU, or whatever the case may be, that's just the underwriting summary. And in that, it'll tell you mainly the things that you will need. However, when the file gets sent to the underwriter have approval contingencies, and such as that would be a bank statement showing that they had this $200,000 for the down payment, because it was a total. The lady said it was a total of $200,000, and the borrowers put down 3% and owed 17%. Now, a lot of times they do allow you to take the 17% and bring it to closing. They also, which has nothing to do with your closing costs. So your closing costs and your down payment is separate, two separate amounts, two different types of thing. However, she said it was right before closing. If it was right before closing, then the loan officer or the processor or the closer for the lender, someone should have called the borrower and said, hey, this is your closing disclosure. I'm going to send it to you encrypted email. when you open it up, let's go over it. So they should have walked them through that closing disclosure to let them know how much will be needed for closing. In addition, they should have also told them how the money should be sent to the title company, because technically they could have went to the title company, which is the escrow company, and took a cashier's check. Or the processor or the loan officer should have went over the wire instructions with them and gave them a copy via email, encrypted email. But that didn't happen either, because the borrowers received an email, wire instructions from scammers that didn't have the correct account number or anything, which technically wasn't a fault to me, because if you're a loan officer, if you're a realtor, if you're a processor or a closer, why wouldn't you make sure your clients have the correct information, go over the information? What really pisses me off about stuff like this is that people assume that just because a client, a customer go and look up stuff or YouTube stuff, that they understand the process, when they don't. They don't work for the mortgage company, you do. So it was your job to be more diligent than the borrowers themselves and make sure that they had the correct information. And then the saddest part about it is that when their money got stolen and they couldn't come up with the down payment, the 3% that went to the seller has the legal right to keep it, because now the property and everything have failed out of contingency. But if you knew you're a people that wanted to buy the home, that they lost a total with your 3% of $200,000 in this day and time, and that the bank was giving them a hard time, the bank wouldn't give them like, basically from what the lady said, the bank was giving them a hard time and they really lost the money. I gotta keep it real. Who you think is gonna take that lying down to lose $200,000? We ain't talking about no 3,000. We ain't talking about no little money. That's some real money. Actually, in certain places, 200,000 could have bought them a house. Well, a condo. But hey, I digress. But anyway, the seller, he's gonna he's gonna sell the house. He's gonna get another 3% down, or whatever the case may be, and have it in escrow again. So why wouldn't you be heartfelt towards them and get them their 3% back, knowing that they didn't do it deliberately? They didn't fall out of the contract deliberately. They lost $200,000. Like, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So even though they were scammed and the email looked correctly, when you're a mortgage broker such as myself, there's certain things you know that have to be done, and a checklist that you have to check, because so many things could happen. So many people could get fined. So many people could it's a lot of things that could go wrong with this deal. So I just pray that God bless them to be able to get their money back. And even though the seller didn't return their 3%, and he didn't have to legally, he could keep it, but my heart wouldn't have been able to keep it. So I pray that all ends well for them, but just keep in mind, make sure these people do their jobs.